You're tuned into NAC Car Culture, your home of tough muscle cars, classic cruisers and high-performance imports. Proudly brought to you by NAC Insurance, specialists in modified and high-performance cars. Mount Shop, undercar specialists. And Tang Tools. Get organised. Coming up in this week's episode, Steve Anson runs us through his super clean LJ Tirana sedan. We check out the artistry that is custom wheel fabrication and get tech at Triple T Auto Engineering. But first up, it's time to drop in on Hamilton's newest car show, the Culture Backstreet Car Meet.
Yeah, so Culture is about kind of getting everyone who's into cars together, an all-inclusive show that anyone can come along that's pre-87 and kind of enjoy the day and not feel left out.
For organisers Nick Smith and Kenny Harrison, doing something a bit different was logical given their interest in the lowrider culture. These are cars that don't tend to slot into the traditional V8 or import box, and as such, neither does the show.
We've always found that going to V8 kind of shows that, yeah, we don't really fit in.
You got your lowriders here, but it's not limited just to that. Hot rods, classics of the Euro and Japanese variety. I've got a bunch of motorbikes as well, so I guess it's more just opening up the hot rodding scene to make it more accessible to everyone, even if they're not necessarily pigeonholing themselves in just that one category.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think everyone sort of appreciates cars for what they are now, and there's no longer the V8s or rotary issue that used to be around years ago. Yeah, I think the scene's changed a lot in terms of appreciation, which is good.
Me personally, I don't have any particular taste. If you've got a vehicle, you got a vehicle. That's cool. Let's go. Let's cruise. And there is still a lot of stereotypical things like you're into your japs or you're into your muscles. I think that needs to stop, in my opinion. We're all here for the same reason. Let's get out and enjoy cars.
If there's one word that sums up the show, it's character. There was plenty of it, whether it was a fresh take on the usual canvas or going ultra rare, like organiser Nick's Riviera, for example.
Had it for just about 2 years now. Bought it off a guy in Auckland who'd had it sitting in his shed, hadn't really driven it on the road much, and it's a 70s Buick Riviera and it's full hydros in it. That was an absolute mission to do. And yeah, it's otherwise all original. It's from Palm Springs. It's been one old lady owner its whole life until kind of came into New Zealand. From what I know, it's about 32,000 of them made originally. So yeah, from what we know, it's the one in New Zealand. I love it. It's the whole lowrider lifestyle is about enjoying life, really, and it's not about going fast. It's about slowing down and actually enjoying the finer things. So, you know, we've got a really good group of people and we get out and enjoy our cars, and yeah.
It started off when I was living in Japan, and I saw my first actual lowrider there, and a big Cadillac doing 3 wheels, and I was like, man, that's cool, you know. I've grown up around sort of muscle cars and Harley Davidsons and all American stuff, so, and yeah, that was just the flavour that I was into, you know, and love grew from there, so, and so did the savings to buy one.
Justin's 67 Impala is a car you need to spend some time taking in. Its adjustable height comes by way of a Hoppo's hydro install, courtesy of Valley Custom, while the wild paint was expertly applied by Fergus Hope of Whangamata's Peninsula Panel and Paint. It's a car that raises the stakes here in New Zealand lowriding, a niche that's on the up.
I'd like to feel it's growing. It's not just the old stereotype rap video guys. It's, you know, it's a bunch of guys that actually like the style and the culture that it comes from, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely different in New Zealand. The certing process is a lot tougher, so we can't get away with the stuff they can over in the States, so we don't destroy our cars as much.
And with the go-to US classics like Camaros and Mustangs being a regular sight at summer's hot rod shows, a lowrider makes for a great opportunity to jump outside the box.
A lot of character. I mean, you'll notice that Kenny's is the most obvious example, lowrider Camaro. It's traditional. If you talk to him, he'll explain you the ins and outs of why it actually is a traditional lowrider, but it's not a 64 Impala. You got your usual big bodies. There's a lot of caddies here, big four-door 90s, late 80s cruisers. That's again something that I guess mainstream perception of lowriding doesn't really encompass that too much, but they're as much part of it as ever.
But slamming a car into the weeds doesn't always make it a lowrider.
It's a 1967 VW Beetle. 1600 twin-port engine instead of a little 1300. It's had the engine in and out about 7 times probably. It's been a love-hate relationship. I purposely brought it for business advertising, and now I've fallen into the bug love. It's just gotten out of control now. Everybody knows what a Beetle is, so it was nothing better than making one that stood out like dog's balls, and everybody knew it really. Most people have them nice, old and original and quite high. The scene in America and Australia is quite low, and everybody loves a car extremely low. And so I've just slammed it as low as possible that I can still drive with, and gone from there.
Classics were also accounted for, but not necessarily the ones you thought.
It's 3 owners from new. I actually imported it from Sydney about 3 years ago. It's been semi-restored, so it's been repainted, but not a full restoration. But the car's pretty tidy before the paint was done, so it didn't really need to be completely restored. This is about my 23rd or 24th rotary I've owned, and with the exception of a few, I've chopped up and modified most of them, and I regret a lot of that now, but I couldn't bring myself to modify or chop up a car like this anymore. It's a 73 RX3 Coupe, was sold new in Adelaide in Australia. A lady owner bought it from new, still got all its service records in the glove box. Still runs its TNA twin distributor, numbers matching engine. Same with the gearbox and diff. None of the running gear in this car has ever been changed. It's factory flare yellow, which is one of the most popular colours you can get in the RX3. It's obviously got the 10A front nose cone on it, and the candy apple tail lights. Drives beautifully, cruises along the open road at 100 k's an hour, and it's pretty quiet. It's got a standard exhaust on it. Yeah, I just love driving it. I don't think there's been many years in my life where I haven't owned a Mazda. I just love the look of them. I love the styling of the 70s Japanese cars. I love the engineering in them. I love all the badges that they come with. I just love everything about Mazda rotaries.
And just in case culture hadn't proved diverse enough already, Wade from Van's Body Shop was out trying to convert people to 2 wheels.
The bike scene, I think, at the moment is sort of something that's a bit fresh in New Zealand and sort of taking off. And I suppose there's a bit of an attitude behind it that's sort of, still family friendly that everyone can get into. So, yeah, it's definitely something that's on the takeoff. So we'd definitely be happy to be a part of it, yeah, for sure. 2 different styles, really. So one of the bikes is a bit more of a later model Japanese bike. It's a Yamaha XJR 1200. So it's a big bike. Started out life as a touring bike, and we've just done a full strip down on the bike, and then we've done a bit of frame changing to it, and sort of turned it into a CAF racer style, modern handling and modern brakes. Then the other bike is a Kawasaki, which is a Z440, which is the older styled sort of bike, which is sort of really fits the hot rod sort of era theme as well. I think more of those bikes, it's more what you take off, not what you put on.
Stance and proportion are 2 big words when bolting a hot rod together. Turns out it's no different when building a bike.
Yeah, I think in a way it's actually funny. It's almost more because the bike's so small, a car's so big. You can only see one side at a time, and in a car you can spend a lot of time underneath and no one ever see it. So in a bike you sort of see everything that goes into it. So it is one of those things. I suppose you can build a bike and take it somewhere like this, and you can be really happy to show it off because people can see what you've put into it and the effort and those little things to hopefully make your bike stand out a little bit different to the next one.
While culture was very much on the relaxed side when it comes to car shows, there were a few awards up for grabs. Tim's RX3, Roger's A pickup, and Kevin's GTO took out their entered classes, while Elmo's Caddy got the lowrider nod. Squid's Harley Softail was awarded Best Bike, and Shimmy's 64 SS Impala was crowned Best Overall. Finally, the Valley Custom pick went to Joel's slammed V-dub.
I just want everyone to have a good day. It's about enjoying the cars and being able to hang out with friends. So as long as everyone's happy, we're happy, and hopefully we can get a big enough turnout so we do this next year.
Still to come on NAC Car Culture, Steve Anson's slick Holden Torana sedan, a visit to vintage rims and tech from Triple T. You're back with NAC Car Culture, kindly brought to you by the good people at NAC Insurance, Teng Tools and Mount Shop. We've got Steve's Torana coming up soon, but first, It's time to get technical at Triple T Auto Engineering with this week's NAC Tech Tip.
When you do an engine conversion, decide first what you want to do with the car at the end of it, motorsport or street use. Take all steps required to ensure that at the end of your project you're going to be left with a car that you can actually use for the purpose intended. As far as using different manufacturers' parts on different cars, it's an open book, you can do whatever you want. People don't care about crossbreeding, as we call it. They just get whatever motor they want and whatever chassis, whatever hubs, you just put it all together. Clearance issues is the main thing, you know, where belts are running or drive shafts. Try and stay away from chassis rails and stuff like that, especially if you want to get it certified for street use. Any engine conversion or part conversion for that matter, these days basically NZTA want everything certified, whether it be a steering wheel, a seat or a full engine and driveline conversion. Check the rule book and it's often updated, so you've got to keep familiar with those rules and just make sure that you're keeping whoever it is certifying it happy. They'll come in and look at the project along stages along the way and make sure you know that you're on the right track so you don't get any hiccups at the end.
Cheers, Tim. Right, thanks to the good folk at Teng Tools, we get to show you a process seldom seen. The art and craft of custom wheel fabrication at Gary Morton's Vintage Rims. November's magnitude 7.8 earthquake brought devastation to the Kaikoura region, and for Gary, tragedy to his Mount Life at home, claiming the life of his partner, Joanne McKinnon. This story was recorded before the quake. We extend our deepest sympathies to Gary and Joanne's family and friends as they rebuild their lives, their homes and businesses.
When I turned 16, all I wanted to do was leave school. The old man wouldn't let me leave school till I got apprenticeship. So the only one in the paper that day was a builder or carpenter. So I went along and got that job and I did carpentry for about 10 years. Funny how things actually work out, but I was still working on cars, working on my own cars, hot rods, and it didn't take long to realise that I needed to go out on my own, and I went out on my own, got a building, did everything, and then I found that the people were just like myself. They had the real passion but no money. It ended up being that I got into classic cars, and that got bigger and bigger and bigger. Specialised in doing Jaguars. They were the guys with the money, I think. But and then the wheels. I was doing my own, getting the rims in from England, and it just sort of went from there. My wheels have been in movies, the King Kong movie. They've been in Peking to Paris rally. They've been in car shows, rallies, won Pebble Beach. They've done everything. So it's a bit of a feather in your cap, or doesn't make you famous or anything, but it just that's part of the challenge, I suppose, doing all that sort of stuff.
Given history's long list of auto manufacturers, some now almost unheard of, Gary often finds himself working from customer supplied centres and building the wheel around them. However, by chance, one job would open the door to taking on even more of the manufacturing process.
I had a guy, an Aussie guy, ring me up and wanted 12 Rolls Royce wheels made. I said to him to bring over the wheel centres, or send his wheel centres over, and he did, and they were brand new. And so I rang him up and said, mate, these are just beautiful centres. And I said, where'd you get them from? Thinking he was going to say England or something for the Rolls Royce. And he said, no, I make them myself. It's a new type of metal called moly carbide. I'd already learnt how to draw at Polytech. And I said to him, if I send you over a drawing, can you make me some? And he said, yeah, I can do that for you, piece of cake. Because we do all the sections of rims, and now we can do all the sorts of hubs, there's virtually nothing we can't make. I've done some weird stuff, a lot of one-off ones, only car in the world. I keep saying a lot to people, only one in the world, and I think that's a big thing, and it is actually true. So a lot of the cars are one-off cars and millions of dollars worth of cars. So yeah, there is a challenge there, but it's I do accept the challenge, and I do like it. I dream about it a bit at night as well, which is a wee bit bloody silly. How you're going to do things, how you can do things better, easier, cheaper.
Pretty impressive then, that many vehicles around the globe run one-offs and custom wheels crafted from a humble workshop in North Canterbury. But Gary suspects there's a good reason we Kiwis punch above our weight.
I think New Zealand is actually the capital of the world for classic cars and even hot rods for the population we got. You go to the hops and you go to car shows, you go to run. There's a lot of cars around, We had to make everything in the early days because you couldn't you couldn't buy things, and so it was the Kiwi thing where you actually just ended up making it. And a lot of it is cost as well with the New Zealand dollar. You usually pay an extra. And I think it's quite a good thing if you make it. If you send a rim, and we was put on the rims, made in New Zealand. And when you send that away and people see it, it does have a bit more of an effect than made in China or made in Taiwan.
And although he'd be happy to spend a bit more quality time on his personal projects, Gary is in no rush to trade the gig in just yet.
Yeah, it is. It's the dream job. Yeah, absolutely.
For your chance to win a Teng Tools Top Toolbox worth $359, simply head over to themotorhood.com. We'll be giving away one every week for 10 weeks. As an extra bonus, you will also receive a 7-piece screwdriver set to help you on your way to build your own toolkit. Get organised with Teng Tools. Time now to check out this week's Mount Shop feature car, Steve Anson's Holden LJ Tirana.
A 70s vintage family sedan that was never really meant to be a hot rod or a show car. Mass-produced family cars, what they were supposed to be, yeah. Until people like me came along, yeah, and then wanted to make them a bit better than that, yeah. Well, the goal was originally just to find one that I could build up and just drive around. The outcome you see here wasn't really the original plan. As happens to a lot of guys, it's just snowballed, and I spent more time and more money, and it took longer to do, but the end result has definitely turned out to be more of a show car, but I want to drive it every day as well, so even though it's come up pretty good, I'm not afraid to take it out on the road, That's the plan. Use it, spend all the money and time, might as well use it, and the kids love it, so Mrs. is getting there. Having owned a few different cars over the years, and a fair portion of them being Holdens, I wanted to do, I guess, something that was a bit different. Yeah, like I said earlier, you don't see many of these around anymore, of the old 72 Tiranas. I wanted a coupe originally, but they're harder to find than a four-door, so, and the price reflected as well. So went this way to have a car that was a little bit more unique, and there's a lot of American muscle cars around now. Went back to what's in the blood sort of thing. When I decided I wanted to build an LJ Tirana, I started looking on the usual places, Trade Me, and I found a car that looked like it was all there, advertised in primer, just needs paint. So I bought it for a fair price at the time, and it was turnkey, it was running, and then it turned out to be an absolute write-off. It was just full of rust and, like I say, chicken mesh, paper mache, usual cheap panel bedding job. So I scrapped that and then gave up, found this one 6 months later, I suppose, just off chance. I'd given up trying to find one. I guess the fact that it came with a lot of new parts too. The guy that I bought it from had headlights, tail lights, chrome trims, a lot of stuff that you can't find. It was already with the car, and even though the body shell was in pretty average condition, it had some metal work done on it, so it was a good starting point, yeah.
The LJ sedan was towed home and a 4-year build was underway. The stripped shell was delivered to panelman Elton Woolley, who was tasked with ridding the car of its cancer. More metalwork was required on the firewall and tunnel to fit a healthy 327 cube small block sporting Fuely heads, roller rockers and a good chunk of Edelbrock and MSD's catalogues. The result is around the 350 horse mark and is delivered to the treads by a T10 4-speed and a VN Commodore limited slip diff.
I always wanted to put a V8 in it, whether it was a Chev or a Holden motor. I hadn't decided until the engine that's in there came along. Big blocks are hard to get in there. If you have a look in the engine bay, small blocks are a tight fit, so it was the obvious choice to go for a Chev, yeah. And it's not a huge horsepower motor, so as long as it could handle a few good skids without brake and stuff, that was the aim. It has worked so far. I want to have a factory-looking car. In fact, I didn't even want it hanging out of the bonnet, but we couldn't get the motor down low enough, so I had to have a sort of a subtle air cleaner setup like what's on the car now. But then we did also, when we built it, set the motor further back to allow for a supercharger later on, so that sort of blows the hole out of the bonnet thing away. Whether that happens or not, I don't know, man. We'll have to see how the budget goes, but it goes well enough as it is. It doesn't really need any more power.
Once the panels were deemed arrow straight, the Tirana was shot with nitrate silver, a late model Holden colour. A black accent on the lower panels was considered, but Steve chose to keep the car clean, much to the confusion of many.
I deliberately didn't put any Holden badges as such, no Holden writing on it apart from the fuel cap with the line on it, and it does keep people guessing, trying to work out what brand it is and what make it is. So older guys, sort of 30s, 40s, 50s, don't know what it is pretty much straight away from the body shape, but young guys definitely keeps them guessing a bit,
And while the step up and build goals might have stretched both budget and time frame on the Holden project, it's hard to dwell on the negatives now.
If you've been in this position where you intended to build just a street car you could drive around and then it ends up being more of a car to this quality of build, it's almost like a decisive moment where you go, right, I'm no longer just going to build a street car, I'm going to build a more of a show car that does stand out, and it's something a bit more special than it would have been if it was just a patch-up job or something like that. I've been a Holden fan since my old man had a HZ wagon. I was only 10 years old, and hopefully it will become a more classic, more collectible vehicle, The name won't ever die, so.
Want to see more cars in action like this? Jump onto themotorhood.com now and sign up for our totally free digital magazine. It's packed with the best bits from New Zealand Performance Car, NZ V8 and New Zealand Classic Car magazines. Simply enter your email address and you'll get it direct to your inbox. Easy. That's us for this episode of NAC Car Culture. Coming up next week, the Stragglers' massive and slightly damp Cambridge charity show.
The car started off a little bit slow arriving this morning. We were starting to panic a little bit, but no, they come through.
Jefferson Kirk's RX-8 slam stance and Bridgeport turbo power, and a Canterbury shed you could get lost in. See you there. NAC Car Culture was proudly brought to you by NAC Insurance, specialists in modified and high-performance cars, Mount Shop, undercar specialists, and Teng Tools. Get organised.